Good afternoon, Yankee fans and baseball fans and any fans you want to be. How's it going? It's Joe, NY Yankee Mania. What's cooking, everyone? Shout out to Evan, Nitin, and Sean Browning for a killer show this morning on coffee, bagels, and any omelets you want on Yankee Mania. They killed it this morning. Thank you so much. I hope everybody enjoyed it. And again, it's going to happen again tomorrow morning the same way as we get prepared for our nighttime show, saluting the troops. But first hands first. And we're on special here right now because in a couple of minutes, Colin Cosell will be joining us. If that name sounds familiar, yes, his grandfather was the great Howard Cosell, and he's been a Met PA announcer for a very long time, and he entertains a lot of the fans. So we're going to get into his brain, and we're gonna talk to him about everything goes on at Citi Field and what he thought about Old Shea Stadium and all kinds of good things. So we will be waiting for that. Also. We will have a morning show again tomorrow morning, everyone, but please don't forget that's leading up to our big show that's going to start at 7 p.m. tomorrow. A lot of things happening, great stories, some former athletes will be coming on, news anchors, you name it. They will be joining us. It's going to be a heck of a show. I really hope that everybody has a lot of questions lined up. You can go on the link now and start with your questions. Please go on there. The sooner you do that, the faster you do that, the easiest it is for us to knock them all out. We're also going to have by my side, along with, of course, obviously myself and hopefully Chef Nick, we're going to have Monty. Well, you know what? I'm going to have Nitin talk to you about that. We're going to talk about that in a little while when Nitin joins us. But right now, we have the star of the show, and I want to just see if I can get a thumbs up that he's ready. And yes, he is. All right. The one and the only voice of Citi Field in Alabama football. We are very excited to bring on Colin Cosell. How you doing, partner? How's it going?
Not too bad. I do have to give one disclaimer. Not Alabama. Not that big of a program. It's Army football up at West Point.
Army, I'm sorry.
Okay.
You know what? I'm working 24 hours because we have a big show coming up for the troops tomorrow night, which if you have a chance, I would love it if you could stop by, if you got a couple of kind words to say, or if you have a story in your family about the troops and all, and I've been working feverishly on the show, so I'm very sorry. I didn't mean to, I guess it happens once in a while here.
No worries at all. Listen, that would be a huge credit to my resume, so I take zero offense to it. Unfortunately, the rest of my week is completely slammed, but I can say in honor of our veterans, I was there for the I guess it was the induction of cadets, making their vow to join the Army on Saturday during Army football. I was the MC of my hometown, Stamford, Connecticut's Veterans Day Parade yesterday.
Nice.
And obviously honoring all my friends and family members who served. So I won't be able to be there, but to join you, but to all of our troops and our veterans, thank you for your service and for defending our freedoms.
Well, yeah, no, thank you for that. Actually, one of the veterans that's going to be on the show tomorrow, Ken, right off the bat, just has a quick question for you. Have you interacted with the Corps of Cadets from West Point?
Not directly. I've spoken to many former cadets, and I actually did have a flight for a corporate event I was hosting, and a young man sitting next to me, and he was built like a Mack truck. I mean, this kid was like 7 foot, 14, 380 pounds of pure muscle. And he was wearing the Army Athletics logo And so, I had to ask him, I was like, do you go to West Point? He goes, yes, sir. And I was just like, yeah, of course you do, the way he answered. And I said, do you play any sports there? Football, I'm hoping. And he goes, yes, sir, I'm on the football team. But he was a freshman. And so we got to chat a little bit. And I got to tell you, when it comes to the cadets and what they have to go through just being cadets and then being college students, and then for those who are student athletes on top of all of it, a gentleman I met at a different corporate event was telling me, being a cadet can be pure hell on these poor kids. He's like, but for those who are the student athletes, he's like, that's got to be next level. So no, I don't directly interact with them. We do have some fun in game. We do a punting, or rather a field goal contest with 2 cadets, and I get to announce that. We had some fun with it on Saturday. Actually, the superintendent went up there and was the holder. For the kickers to add some pressure.
Nice.
So I had some fun with that on the PA and interacting with them that way. But otherwise, it's just the typical PA announcer thing where I say something and they cheer. And in that moment, we're synergetic.
Well, first of all, I want to say, and I speak for a lot of fans, you have the coolest job, one of the coolest jobs I know. I mean, what you do, and you're very entertaining. City Field, a very recognizable voice. I could pick you out just like Bob Shepard, to be honest with you. You're an inspiration, and we want to thank you for your good work and your hard work.
Well,
that's number one. How did it all get started? I mean, obviously, we knew and loved your grandfather. Of course, no question about it. Did he inspire you? When did you really feel, hey, you know what? I can do this too. So tell us how you got to this journey.
Well, for point one, Bob Shepard, even though I work for the Mets, I have nothing but respect for the Yankees organization. And I'm a New York homer, except for hockey. It's Rangers or bust, but we can talk about that another time. But when it comes to baseball, with the exception of the 2000 World Series, if the Yankees are doing well, then New York is doing well, and that makes me happy. Same thing as a Jets fan. My 2 favorite Super Bowls were when the Giants beat the Patriots. So, it's kind of one of those things where, like, I don't have any ill will unless we're playing against them. With that being said, Bob Shepard is the gold standard. I abide by, so many of his teachings, not the least of which are the 3 C's of PA announcing: be clear, be concise, and be correct. So Bob Shepard, to have my name uttered in the same sentence as him is extraordinarily humbling. And I greatly appreciate it. And you're the first person to do so. So thank you for that. In terms of how I got here, yes. It all started with Howard. It's all his fault. He allowed me to sit on his lap when I was 5 years old and do an air check before he was recording one of his little 60-second radio bits for ABC Radio. And I put on the headphones. I talked to his producer. His name was Eddie. I remember that much. What I said, I do not remember. It couldn't have been that intelligent. I was 5. But he played it back for me, and I was like, okay, this is witchcraft, and I'm obsessed. And my grandfather gave me one of his little, when he was a reporter, one of those little mini tape recorders and a sleeve of the mini tape cassettes. He taught me the handy dandy trick of how to make sure that the tape can never be recorded over again, or how you can re-record and all that. And then the rest of my childhood, was spent recording fake commercials, radio shows, doing play-by-play with like my wrestling figures or my G.I. Joes or whatever. Any opportunity I had to narrate or talk or do something with a microphone, I'd take full advantage of. Now, the problem is in elementary school, middle school, and high school, especially in the 80s and 90s, those lower schools, those lower grades don't tend to have programs, for a radio station or a TV station or anything like that. The resources were not available. Podcasts were nowhere near our lexicon at that point. So I did whatever I could, because I was also a huge ham, to get in front of an audience. So I would do school plays. If someone was, needed to volunteer and read something, I would volunteer. Or it got to the point in high school where my classmates would be like, Colin will do it. And it was, I didn't realize at the time I was honing in my craft without any real life experience. So finally, I got my start in radio in the summer of '99 for an oldie station on Long Island, 92.1 FM, WLNG, the home of 10,000 golden oldies. I was on six nights a week from midnight to 5:30, and had no right at 19 playing oldies. But there I was. And then I spent the rest of my career, any opportunity I had to be in front of a microphone, started doing live events in my 20s, voiceovers. I did stand-up comedy for 17 years. I did professional theater out of college for a few years. And then I got into broadcasting in my late 20s and my 30s. And then 10 years later, at age 38, I got the job with the Mets. And then it's been all announcing and corporate events ever since. A very niche job, but I know that I'm the luckiest man in the world to have it and to be my own boss and to be doing what I'm doing, to get paid to watch professional sports win or lose, but also to get paid to do what I love most, which is talking into microphones and having that experience with the fans. So, that is the truncated but still long-winded story.
We have a question. Actually, we do every day here. Star of the show. It's a fan of the. We dedicate the show to a fan. Today we're dedicating it to Bob Rizzo, and Bob Rizzo has a question here for you. He says, "What goes into, first of all, how did you approach the Mets? Did they approach you? And how does that interview go? I mean, do they put you in front? Well, explain it. Just you would like you to explain how." How is it done? Because he finds it fascinating.
It's an interesting question and an interesting story. So I got my break as a sports broadcaster. A gentleman named Marty Ehrlich took a chance on me with this brand new network called MSG Varsity. It existed for about just under 5 years,
Yes.
and I was, I was very, very green to, at that age to be going into broadcasting, even though it was, very much on my radar growing up. That's something I wanted to do. And so while I was there, Marty, he literally let me work my way from the ground up. Sideline reporter, color commentator, doing play-by-play. Then I was doing some production, some writing. I was the anchor for their version of Sports Center. It was called High School Sports Desk. I won 3 Emmys while I was with them. And I thought, hey, all right, now my career is really, really, really going. Here we go, building up that resume. And then one night, overnight, MSG Varsity shut down. Unannounced, unceremoniously, they stopped. They fired 350 of the most talented people I've ever met and worked with, and narrowed it down to 3 people to do strictly online content through Newsday. So I was suddenly out of work, and I was thinking to myself, well, with this resume, who's not going to hire me? I learned very quickly nobody wanted to hire me for a variety of reasons, not the least of which was my age. They were very, very hell-bent on hiring kids that were fresh out of college. They were young, they were cheap, they were safe. And 90% of them were coming out of the Newhouse School in Syracuse, which I did not go to. So it was impossible for me to find a job. And there's also the final reason being the last name Cosell. High expectations from some, and then extremely wary from others because it's Cosell. The man was very opinionated and unafraid to speak those opinions. And that's not really warranted or allowed these days in sports broadcasting. So I couldn't find a job. So it became survival. And a buddy of mine who owned a bar 2 blocks away from where I was living in Queens, in Astoria, one night sent me a text, and it's just like, hey, have you bartended before? I said, sure. He's like, can you come and fill into my bar? And I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? Here's the thing. I'd never bartended a day in my life. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was like, I need money. Fake it till you make it. How hard can it be? It's like an old man bar. They're just going to be drinking Smirnoff and soda anyway, whatever.
Oh, geez.
Went in, did my thing. Easy peasy, walked out with a stack of cash, had a blast. Next day, he was like, hey, do you want to cover Tuesdays and Thursdays for the foreseeable future? I said, sure. So I became a bartender. And then a few months after that, I got poached by a huge sports bar in the Lower East Side of Manhattan to become their bartender on Friday nights. So now I'm like bartending and making all this money, and it's great, but it was not what I really wanted to do. And it was starting to wear on me a bit.
Sure.
But in this bar, this huge sports bar in the Lower East Side, I met 2 of the most important people of my life. One was a server who they had hired before I became manager, and her name was Julia, and she is now my wife of 8 years and the mother of my daughter.
Congratulations.
And then the other was a regular customer who had just started working for the Mets in-game promotions, marketing, and production and such. And we became good friends. I told him about my background, and it was just one of those things where you have to sprinkle it in there, network. But he became an actual legitimate dear friend of mine. So then you fast forward to Sunday, April 15th, 2018. The Mets are playing against the Milwaukee Brewers. I'm at the game with my wife. We were newlyweds at that point. Her maid of honor and her maid of honor's boyfriend at that time. They're broken up. To let you know exactly where I was in that stage of my life, we smuggled in Jello shots. My wife's best friend smuggled in Jello shots successfully. So there we were in the Coca-Cola corner, right against the foul pole, popping Jello shots out of security's eyes.
Oh, is that you? No.
Yep, 100% me. I was the only one to do it too. No one has ever smuggled Jello shots into Citi Field, I assure you. But so I shot a text to my buddy, and I was like, "Hey, I'm at the game." He's like, "Amazing! I'd love to show you around." It was it was like 45 degrees and misting. It was a miserable day, and he's like, "Come in, warm up, dry off, show you around, and I need to talk to you about something." So he did. He gave me the tour. I got a bottle of water that wasn't going to cost me $12, and then he says, "Listen, we're looking for a new PA announcer, but it's a blind audition. If you can get me a demo in the next 48 hours, I can get it in the right hands, and then the rest of it is cast your fate to the wind." So I was like, okay, let me see what I can do. And so I whipped something up, got it in his hands, and then it was radio silence for like 10 days. And I was like, well, there goes another one. And I'd submitted for many teams before. I'd seen auditions, job openings for PA announcers for the Cubs like 15 years ago. And I was like, yeah, I'll move to Chicago. I don't care about the Cubs, but I'll announce. I don't care. Well, now here was a legitimate chance with a team that I love. So I get an email and they're like, hey, sorry, things are a little bit sluggish. We've got, teams on the road. We're doing a bunch of things. You're still in the running. We'll keep you posted. Radio silence for another week. Still in the running. Don't worry. Everything's good. Just bear with us. Okay, fine. Another week. Radio silence. I'm like, this is killing me. Finally, they're like, good news. We've whittled it down to 7 people. Can you come to Citi Field on May 15th? The team is on the road and audition in the stadium. And I was like, yeah, of course. So they meticulously set it up so that all 7 of us would go in. None of us saw each other. None of us heard each other. They did a really good job of that. And we went into the PA booth, did a bunch of reads to an empty stadium, and then see you later, and on my way. And in that moment when I was auditioning in the booth, I've never been more confident in my life. I was like, this is it. This is where I belong. It was when I left the stadium and was walking to my car that I started like shaking like a leaf. I'm like, oh my God, this is completely out of my hands. This is the closest I've ever gotten. I'm like freaking out. Now, the fun aside to that is I was at that point managing an Italian restaurant in Rego Park.
Oh.
And called Barossa's. And great Italian restaurant, by the way. Strongest recommend it. Get the rigatoni Barossa. Phenomenal. So one of our regular customers I'd become friendly with, but we weren't particularly close. He was in his 70s, died of a heart attack, unexpectedly. It was, obviously very sad. So his funeral was that day. So my plan was to go to the audition, go home, change, go to his funeral, and then I had a shift at the restaurant. So I'm going to the funeral and I'm going to park, and I get a phone call from my friend, and he's like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm about to go to a funeral. He's like, do you have a few minutes? I said, I sure do. He said, so we've whittled it down to 2 people. And I said, okay. Am I one of those people? And he goes, you are. And I said, so what's the next step? He said, there is none. We've decided we're going to have 2 PA announcers. You guys are going to split the season. And I was like, so I got the job. He's like, you got the job. You're the next PA announcer of the New York Mets. I burst into tears. I lost it. I'm a 38-year-old man on the side of the road at 3 p.m.
You should. That's
bawling my eyes out.
amazing.
This is 33 years in the making. So we hang up. He said, I'll be in touch with more info soon. And immediately I'm like, I got to call my wife. I got to call my family. And then I'm like, no, wait, you're about to go to a funeral. You don't want to walk in there beaming. So I was like, just go in, pay your respects, and then take care of the rest. So I walk in there, and at that point, I'd forgotten about the fact that I'd been bawling. So my eyes were a little bloodshot and a little tear-soaked. So I walked in that funeral, people thought I was broken up over this. They're like, oh, Colin, I know you guys were friendly and everything. I'm like, oh, so young, so soon. I'm like, if I die in my 70s, I don't want anyone saying so young. So it was just like one of those things where I was like, this is, I'm really broken up about it. And of course, I was sad and everything, but inside, I'm like, I just got my dream job. So I left the funeral and called my wife, and the rest is history.
Okay. Well, no, but you say the rest is history. So take us, if you don't mind, your first game, your first day. And do you remember who you announced first?
No, I don't. And that's a really good question. That's something I should definitely look up because the entire day is a blur. I'm being run all throughout. And Jason, thank you for the comment, by the way. I really appreciate that. It's an honor to announce to you, Jason Spitzberg, because you guys are the reason why I love what I do. So thank you for your energy in Citi Field. But that first batter, I don't know. All I know is they were dragging me like through the tunnel to go get a security picture and get my badge and like meet this person, that person. I signed a contract, which I haven't signed a contract since. I don't even know why I did that day. I was given a Mets hat and like little things here and there. And like there's this person you need to talk to and that. And it was just like, poof, and then sit down in the booth and go. What I do remember about that game is we were playing against the Cubs, ironically, and Joe Madden was the manager at that point. And if anyone knows baseball and they know Joe Madden, they know that Joe Madden loves to micromanage. So I had to deal with that with double switches. It was a true baptism by fire. And to make matters more interesting, the game went into extra innings. The Mets ended up losing that game to the Cubs. It was really, at the end of the day, it was a true clunker. I was probably the happiest person walking out of that stadium that day because I was just like, I did it. It's done. Wow, that was crazy. But yeah, that was Sunday, June 2nd, 2018.
Now, were you ever approached from a player saying, "Hey, if you're going to announce my name, I want it done this way"? Have you ever gotten across something like that, or has everybody been really cool with you?
No, I mean, the players are, at the end of the day, they just want to make sure you pronounce their name correctly. And that is like at the epicenter of my job. Not ideal, but if my voice were to crack or if I were to stumble over copy or something, like, not the end of the day. And if you're a pro, you power through it and you keep going. And if anyone's really paying attention, they hear it. And if not, like, it's already out of their head in 2 seconds. But when it comes to name pronunciations, if I butcher that, I will be eviscerated on social media. I will have, I've had Keith Rad, who's a good buddy of mine who does, who's in the booth with Howie Rose on the radio side.
Mm-hmm.
I slipped up on one name, and it was like when my daughter was an infant, and I just had like that new parent, like brain fog thing going on. And I immediately got a text from him. He's like, "Nope, you got that wrong." I'm like, I said it and I knew I got it wrong. Like little things but I think I've gotten a name wrong, mispronounced twice in my career. The first time was my second game with the Mets. It was against the Baltimore Orioles. And then the second time was last season or 2 seasons ago when I was a new dad. So,
oh, wow. Great.
But yeah, the only other flub I can say, and this is when I knew that the players were listening, was Jose Iglesias, who, of course, of Oh My God fame last year and was kind of like the heart and soul of the 2024 Mets. Another one of those days where I had been going for like 14 straight hours, and I fill out my my scorecard, and the scorecard is filled out by last name. I'll put the first name on top of it. If it's a phonetically tricky name, I'll write it out, whatever. Boom, 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 boom. So I can read my starting lineups during pregame. For no good reason, instead of writing Jose Iglesias, I wrote Julio, the Latin pop star. So
Yeah,
I wrote it without thinking. I go through the lineup and I said it without thinking. And then when I'm done, my spotter, Nick, is sitting there looking at me, and I finish. I'm like, all right, that's done. And I look over at him, and he's looking at me like this. And I'm like, what's up? And he's just like, Julio Iglesias. And I was like, what about him? He's like, that's what you said. I'm like, no, I didn't. I wrote it right. Oh, shit. I'm like, oh, yep, that's a Julio. I even wrote it down. And so, of course, everyone ripped on me because that's what we do for like 2 weeks. But what I found out was we just happen to have 3 of our cameras locked in on the Mets dugout. And one of the players happened to be Jose Iglesias. Another player happened to be Pete Alonso, and one was a wide shot of the dugout. This was when I learned that they truly are listening because Pete, they have footage of Pete going, Julio. You can read his lips. He goes, Julio. Huh. And he starts laughing. Jose hears it, and he goes, all right. Like he's just like, yeah, it could be worse. And then you see the bench just chuckling as well. So that's on the flub side. In terms of asking to announce a certain way, there's certain players that will have a walk-up song and they want me to start announcing them at a certain point. I think it was Jay Bruce who had PSA by Jay-Z. And it starts off with, allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Hove. And then the song starts, but he wanted it to be, allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is the right fielder, Jay Bruce, or whatever it was.
Right.
And then announce him. So like little things like that. But otherwise, the players, they care more about their walk-up song and having their name pronounced the right way than having any like razzle dazzle in there.
Well, I'll tell you a quick funny story. So I went to a wedding one day, and they didn't tell me. It was a friends of mine, and all of a sudden, they instead of the traditional the guy in the band is going to announce the names, all of a sudden they announced, and I at first I thought it was a joke. It turned around and he said, "Well, introducing the bride and the groom and everybody is going to be WWE announcer Howard Finkel." And Howard Finkel comes out. It was like, what? And he he announced just like he was, ladies and gentlemen, WWE presents your wedding, and it was amazing. He was a great guy. I miss him. God bless him. When I got to meet him, because we also do some wrestling stuff, and but that is something that I now see announcers going into weddings, going into different venues and doing it, and I think it's hysterical. I mean, I think it's fantastic. I mean, if you're ever asked that, Colin, you should jump on it. I asked him. He said it was one of a great experience to do.
Yeah, one of my colleagues with the Mets, he leads our graphics department, Josh Rosenman, whose dad Mark is actually a reporter. For his wedding, it was the last normal thing we did before the pandemic struck. So it was December of 2019, December 20th
Right.
of 2019.
20. Right.
And Josh asked me if I jokingly said to him in the office one day, I was like, "Do you want me to officiate your wedding? I am certified." And he was like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, are you serious?" And he's like, "Yeah, let me go talk to my bride to be." And then I got a text that night. He's just like, "You're in." I'm like, "All right, sweet." So I ended up officiating his wedding. And then he said the only caveat to that is you're going to be required to announce the wedding party onto the dance floor as if they're coming up to bat at Citi Field. And I was like, well, of course, that's got to happen. But yeah, I've had people ask me to record, their intro. I just did one last week to Narco. They wanted to just have a recording of me introducing them the same way I introduced Edwin Diaz. And I love doing that. It was, it kind of started when I first started with the Mets, but particularly during the pandemic, I started a project called Call Me Up Colin, where I would interact with Mets fans and beyond on social media during lockdown. And I was like, hey, you want to be at the baseball stadium? So do I. Let's bring it together. Send me a text or tweet at me with your name, your jersey number, your position, and your walk-up song, and I will record it for you the same way I record a walk-up or I announce a walk-up at Citi Field, and I'll produce it for you. And so I ended up, that started in late March of 2020. And by June, I had to shut it down because I was at 1,200. And it became like an international thing as well. But so, yeah, there are 1,200 at least people out there that have my voice calling up their son or their daughter or their best friend or whatever up to bat at Citi Field or announcing their weddings or just little shout outs and stuff like that. So yeah, I've been doing it and continue to do it and love doing it.
Teresa asked, first of all, thank you for coming on. She loves listening to you announce all the names, and thank you for everything that you've done at Citi Field, and everybody, the kids love it and all. Her question to you is, what is your funniest, best name to announce, and what was the hardest name for you to announce?
Oh, all right. I'll start with the hardest, and this was I've been mocked mercilessly by my dear friend and sister from another mister, my fellow PA announcer Marisol Castro, because she is a proud Latina and I am not. So she can pronounce the Latin names a lot better than I can. And so Eugenio Suarez, my brain could not wrap itself around the concept of Eugenio or Eugenio being Eugenio. Like it's just
Right.
and then Suarez is like Suarez. But for some reason, that just in my brain just did not make sense. So I had to rehearse the hell out of that one. And it's one of the easier ones to do. In terms of like funnier names that can also be minefields, I gotta say, to you Yankees fans, thank you for trading for Jazz Chisholm Jr. because that name is a minefield and it is a disaster waiting to happen for myriad reasons that I won't get into. I'll let your minds run wild with it. But if you have one little slip up, one little mental lapse, you are the laughing stock and a viral sensation in a heartbeat.
Oh, jeez. Oh my God! Yeah, you must love that. I wanted to, so if you don't mind, touch on your grandfather a little bit.
Sure.
One thing that I remember in growing up, I loved the episode of The Odd Couple when he's and obviously I'm sure you've seen it, and I don't know if younger people have seen it, but you have to go on YouTube and go Howard Cosell on the episode of The Odd Couple because it is hysterical.
Yeah.
What he does with them, that was one of the funniest moments. I mean, and I enjoyed everything about your grandfather. And there's also, so that is funny, and everybody, you need to see that.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen that, please watch that episode. You may not even know The Odd Couple exists because we have a lot of young people here, but I can tell you it's one of the funniest episodes. And another one that was amazing. He did. I don't know if you ever saw this, but it is on YouTube. When New Yankee Stadium opened, he did something for ABC, and he was sitting in the Yankee booth and explaining about the new stadium.
Oh, the tour.
The tour.
Yeah.
And that was amazing. But some of the things, seeing him on Monday Night Football and or whatever, baseball, and he knew his stuff, man.
Oh yeah.
And God bless him. Wherever he is, he's looking over everyone and be proud because he was something else. And you know what? You're following in that footstep because you make a Met game very enjoyable.
Well, thank you.
I have to tell you, not because you're standing right in front of me here. It's the truth. It really. I had the pleasure of meeting Bob Shepard, and of course, I actually covered and I did security over at Citi Field. So I mean, I'm pretty familiar with it. I did run it. I didn't know it was you at the time. I was the one that slugged you. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, well, I probably deserved it.
Yeah, I was the one that was right. No, but I wish I would have known it because I always wanted to. I'm fascinated by announcers and people like that. I mean, I ran into Tom Seaver, just about everything. And I got to tell you, your booth there is the best booth. And I'm Yankee true and true. And I grew up Mr. Yankee. I got to tell you that. But the group of Keith Hernandez and Darling, and that group, to me, is definitely the best trio that I've seen since a long time ago. And you may be a little too young. Phil Rizzuto, Frank Messer, and Bill White.
Yeah.
Very entertaining. They tell it like it is. They don't sugarcoat it.
Oh no.
And I admire that. And
yeah.
So kudos to your booth because your booth is excellent.
Well, thank you. I consider myself extremely lucky to be in the position I'm in, but B, to work with and interact with such extraordinarily talented people. And of course, I'm speaking about the production team that I work with, all season long and, a little bit throughout the year, but also Howie Rose, who's become a friend of mine and someone who I absolutely loved and admired with one of the greatest calls of all time as a New York Rangers fan in 1994, Matteau. And, a surreal experience. My first season, there was a massive rain delay in like, it must have been late May or something like that, or maybe it was my second season. At any rate, huge rain delay. The NHL playoffs are on, and I'm walking down the hall and I see it's on the TV in one of the auxiliary booths, and I open the door and it's Howie and his daughter Alyssa. And I was like, "Oh, hey guys." They're like, "Hey, Colin." I was like, "You guys watching the playoffs?" They're like, "Yeah, nothing better, dude. You want to watch?" I was like, "Yeah." Sat there and watched the rest of the game with Howie Rose just talking hockey, and it was like, poof, and inside I'm like, ah! But outside I'm like, yes, of course, yeah. Well,
Now he's got 2 daughters, correct?
yes,
Okay,
yeah. Alyssa's the
and
older one.
that leads into. So I directed tours at Madison Square Garden for about 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, these 2 girls, very inquisitive. I mean, they asked me every question, and I said, "Man, this is fantastic. Your family come. Does anybody famous?" Says, "Well, my dad is Howie Rose." I said, "What?" I said, "Oh my God, this and that." And then all of a sudden, he comes down, coming down to like say hello, and I was like, and he told me, he says, really good tour. Thank you so much for entertaining my daughters and all of that. And that was one of the best experiences I've had. And I got to tell you, Howie is, put this in a book, put that in the books.
Yeah, Howie's incredible. Gary, Keith, and Ron are amazing. And listen, I'm friends with Michael Kay, and I respect and admire him. I think he's a tremendous talent and one of the smartest sports minds I've ever talked to. But I have to agree that Gary, Keith, and Ron, because to your point, they do keep it real. They're not going to sugarcoat anything. They'll call each other out mid broadcast. And they're relentless and ruthless about it, but also, that's their job. There was once a point where people who had microphones and cameras in front of them actually had to present things with facts and integrity, believe it or not. For that younger generation who don't know who Howard Cosell is, believe it or not, they used to actually tell the truth during broadcasts. My grandfather used to tell it like it is. The news actually told the news. It was a very different place not too long ago. But with that being said, in this day and age where everyone's trying to play it safe and cookie cutter, Gary, Keith, and Ron do not. And I think that's part of their charm, because they are so funny. They are so good. And Gary just is instantly, like, anytime there's a big play, Gary is on top of it with just the perfect call every time. Howie Rose the same way. Like, it is an embarrassment of riches for the Mets broadcasters. So yeah, it's an honor and privilege to work with them and to have developed a friendship with them. I sat there and watched game 1 of the National League Wild Card Series 2022 against the Padres. And I was, obviously Gary wasn't announcing it, but he did a pregame thing, and then he was hanging out in a booth with his producer, who's a good friend of mine as well, Russ Relkin. And Russ is the one who always stands in the background serving food. So the 3 of us just sat there watching the game, and it was just a fascinating thing. He was keeping score. His commentary was, very much not guarded, we'll say. None of it would have been safe for air, but it was fascinating to watch him actually watch a game as a fan and learn from him that way. So, just an incredible booth, and we're very, very lucky to have them.
Right. And as far as your grandfather, he called one of the most historical games, which I was at, the 1977 World Series, where Reggie hit 3 homers.
Yep.
And I'll never forget, when I came home and actually watched the replay, when he hit the 3rd home run, and he said, "That's gone," and just in the black area of Yankee Stadium. And
yeah,
but the memories are so great. I mean, I remember, I don't know if you've seen photos of it when he announced Mark Fidrich.
Mm-hmm.
That boy is talking to the ball.
Well, so to your point about the Reggie Jackson call, what I love about that, I love finding, because my grandfather has, all I've heard my entire life is your grandfather's the greatest broadcaster of all time. And I'm very biased because I agree. I watch sports constantly, and, there's some that are really, really great. But I do believe my grandfather, if there's a Mount Rushmore, he's firmly planted right in the middle of it. With that being said, I also love seeing things that humanize him and take him down a peg. And that Reggie Jackson 3-home run game is one of them, because my grandfather was a sports fan and a lawyer before he became a sports broadcaster and broadcast journalist. So when on occasion he would just lose it and devolve into a fan again. And that was one of those nights, because then he hits the home run and my grandfather just steps on all the other calls. He goes, there it goes. And then he starts laughing. He can't believe it. And it's just like all of the, the protocol and the procedures and everything that you're supposed to follow as a broadcaster went right out the window. And it was just Howard being a fan. And it was like the coolest thing. So I love that game in particular, just because it's my grandfather being a real baseball fan instead of just a broadcaster telling it like it is. Well, the second,
no, go ahead.
Oh, no. The second one is very, very brief. He hosted Saturday Night Live, and there was a sketch he did with Martin Short. It was Ed Grimley. And Ed Grimley, had this whole thing in the way he presented himself, but he had this one spike of hair that went straight up. And my grandfather was cast to play, or was written in, I should say, he wasn't cast. He was hosting, to play his uncle. And so they gave my grandfather the big spiky hair thing. And so Martin Short's bounced around. He's like, oh, I'm so excited. My uncle's coming today. I haven't seen him so long, I must say, whatever. And then Howard walks in and the crowd loses it. And of course they do. There's Howard, not with his, really noticeable toupee, but like this Ed Grimley hair. And the crowd is going nuts. And my grandfather did the one thing that I learned in theater, the one thing I've learned in television, and that is do not break that fourth wall. My grandfather stops and acknowledges the crowd, smiles. Yeah, no, this is hilarious. I know. And I'm watching this for the first time and I am dying inside. I'm like, Papa, no, don't acknowledge. You got to ride. You got to go right into it, Papa. You're in character. What are you doing? So, that was one of those things where I was like, damn it, Pop. But otherwise, a pedestal, but nice to take him down a peg. So another fun thing for the kids to look up, Odd Couple and SNL. Oh, yeah.
And Ava asks, first of all, thank you for being on the show. And we enjoy you at Citi Field.
Thank you.
Is there one team that your dad maybe never told anyone or just told the family was his favorite?
That's a great question, Ava. But he grew up in Brooklyn. He was born in Winston-Salem, and then his family relocated to Brooklyn when he was very, very young. And so therefore he was a diehard Dodgers fan.
Okay.
And so when they moved, they were dem bums. In fact, that was our security password in my grandfather's summer house. If the alarm went off and they called, they're like, what's the password? Dem bums. So go ahead and try to break into it. The house doesn't even exist anymore. But so he was definitely a diehard Dodgers fan. One of his favorite athletes in the world, one of his favorite people in the world that became a dear friend of his was Jackie Robinson. But his allegiances thereafter were really kind of muddled by the fact that he had so many friends, and not like Stephen A. Smith, like these are my friends, I hang out and talk to them all the time, BS that he pulls. These were legitimate friends of his. Yes. Defensive linemen, coaches, owners, anyone in and around, football or baseball, even boxing. These people became his friends. So growing up, that kind of muddled my view, which is why I'm kind of like a New York umbrella, approach to things. Because my grandfather, growing up, he was best friends with George Steinbrenner, but he was also best friends with Fred Wilpon. Now, I chose my allegiance to the Mets in 1986 because it was the first time I'd ever seen a New York sports team win a championship. And I was like, I could get used to this. Shame on me. I was only 6, or 7 years old at the time. But so that was, it's like, I'm going to latch on to teams, but I'm going to be very open. So thereafter, I was like, I'm going to go underdogs. And this one I was right on. The Giants won the Super Bowl. And I was like, all right, I'm going to root for the Jets. And then, the Islanders had just come off their tear in the 80s. I was like, I'm all Rangers. My brothers were Rangers anyway. All of that feeds into my grandfather's later years in the late 80s and 90s. We started making him go to New York Rangers games at Madison Square Garden, and he loved it. He fell in love with it, so much so that he ended up getting season tickets for a few years. So we turned him into a diehard Rangers fan. He loved it. John Van Beesbrook was the goalie before they traded him away in favor of Mike Richter. But he loved it when the fans would start chanting "Beezer," and he would like go around the house and just randomly be like, "Beezer." Bees up, getting into the whole thing. So Dodgers 1,000%, Rangers guilt by association, and then that was kind of it. There were some teams that he didn't like, but that was based on like the owner's an a-hole.
Yeah, I would figure that, but
yeah.
One thing I do know is he's got to be looking at you and being and so proud of what you've accomplished and what you're accomplishing, and you're still so young, and you got it all in front, man. I wish you nothing but the best ever, and if you ever get a chance to announce anything at Yankee Stadium, by all means, please do that. We would love it.
I would love to. I will never turn down stadium. First of all, thank you for the incredibly kind words. I would like to think that my grandfather, even though similar footsteps, kind of a parallel path, but very, very different approaches, obviously. And he was hands down the smartest man I've ever met. And I couldn't hold a candle to that. Like, I considered myself a pretty smart man, but he was exceptionally bright. So there was no way I was going to be the second coming of a Howard Cosell, but at least I can carve my own path. So I appreciate those kind words. And hopefully I am making him proud, because the one real parallel we have in our careers is my grandfather got his first big break as a beat reporter in 1962, covering this brand new team called the New York Metropolitans. And then 56 years later, his grandson got his first big break as an announcer with the very same team. So just kind of a cool aside there, but I will never say no to any arena. I announced for 5 or 6 years at Nassau Coliseum, several of which I had to stare at New York Islanders Stanley Cup champion banners. Do you know how hard that is? Do you know how nauseating it is to stare at that banner for hours at a time? My God. Thank goodness I was getting paid. Thank goodness I was there at like field level, so like ice level, because it was indoor box lacrosse at that point. So I could just be looking at that and not at those banners. But anyway, the whole point of that is I would love to announce at Yankee Stadium. Actually friends with your guys' PA announcer, Paul Olden. There's a nice little community of PA announcers. We all have kind of a Facebook group, and a lot of us stay in touch with each other. So we look to cover each other as well. So, if that opportunity ever arises and I get to cover Mark Fratto for NYCFC, if they play there or something like that, more than happy to do it. I would love to announce at Yankee Stadium.
I do have another question. It had to do with the pandemic. How hard was it for you, or not hard, when you were announcing the names or whatever with nobody in the stands? How hard was that? And take us back a little bit of that time and how you felt about that. And it must have been an eerie feeling. I mean, I know I would have been just a fish out of water.
Well, the entire experience was surreal, obviously, because none of us had been through a global pandemic before. But for me, I mean, I was entering my 3rd season, so I was still very, very new. And at that point, it was something that, was, as soon as the season ended, I immediately was counting down to, opening day, because I loved it so much and wanted to be back there so badly. So when the season had been essentially canceled in March of 2020, I was actually on vacation leading up to when like full lockdown happened. I was with my wife and her family in Disney, and Disney announced they were shutting down. We were there for the last day before Disney shut down. The day before that, we got word that all sports were shutting down as well. So I was devastated. So when they said we were coming back and that they needed a PA announcer, I was like, so am I doing it from home or am I pre-recording it? They're like, no. MLB rules dictate that a player is not in the game, a defensive change doesn't happen, a pinch runner, a pinch hitter. Those things don't actually become official until the player is announced into the game. So there I was in the most bizarre essential worker umbrella you could possibly imagine. But the good thing was, for my audition there, I announced an empty stadium before. So I'd been through that. This time, though, I did have, a truncated version of my production team. So it was nice to have those people there. And it was eerie, but it was also, we were allowed to have a little more leeway with what we did with production. Obviously, it wasn't a full-on in-game production, but we could do little silly fun things that we normally wouldn't be able to get away with. All of that aside, there was one game that went to extra innings, and we had piped in crowd noise. And our DJ Razor, had recorded fan noise before then. So he had actual legitimate sounds of, crowd chanting, "Let's go Mets," or, like chanting along with like Seven Nation Army or, whatever. So he would sprinkle those in to give it more of an authentic feel. So it actually, if you close your eyes, it seemed pretty real. But on this one game that went extra innings, no one took into account that the track we were playing with the crowd noise had a certain length, and it was like 3.5 hours or 4 hours, and it ended, and it was not on loop, and so it just stopped. So I'm sitting there, and I always have my window open. I love to hear all the ambient sounds of the ballpark. I don't care what the weather is. My window is always open, and all of a sudden I just hear the.
Mm-hmm.
And it just slowly fades out, and I can hear the players talking on the field. I can hear the players smacking their fists against their mitts. I can hear people like tapping their bat to get the weight off it. Like, it is right there. And the players are kind of looking around like, the hell is going on here? In that moment, it was one of the most weird dystopian things. And it was like on comms, they're like, "Where's the crowd noise? Where's the crowd noise?" We're like, "Oh, it stopped. We got to start up the iPod again." And, like whatever. And then it kicked back in and had to wait, in between batters. But yeah, that was the most surreal part of it. And to Wendy's Sports Corner, Wendy, how many Army games have I seen? I did 7 last year. I've done 5 this year. So I've announced 12, and I have my 13th and final of the regular season coming up on November 22nd.
Oh, right before Thanksgiving. That's
right before my birthday.
Oh, 23. Awesome.
Yes, November 23rd. I'll be spending that day as the master of ceremonies for Stamford, Connecticut's Thanksgiving parade, the second largest Thanksgiving balloon parade in the country behind Macy's. And it's basically like their test run. So I'll be spending my birthday watching floats come down and watching my daughter gawk and announcing to 100,000 people.
Well, first of all, an early happy birthday. Many more.
Hope so.
And we do have a little surprise for you, and I'm actually going to bring them up right now to come and say hello to you. So I hope you don't mind.
Yo,
and here we go.
Hey, what's going on, man? How are you?
How you been, my guy? How you been?
Good. How are you?
Hey, first of all, happy early birthday.
Thank you.
Obviously, thank you for taking the time for joining Joe's NY Yankee Mania show. He is the best. My team and I are the ones who book all the guests for Joe. So if you see his past episodes, that's through us, and you already know we're connected well in the business with networking and all. And by the way, hey guys, everyone in the chat, you guys did a great job with the questions. Also, Colin is the best. He's the GOAT. He's a legend.
Oh.
And Colin is obviously comes from an amazing family with Howard Cosell, obviously his grandfather, and he was on our. And I'm also Colin, you know that I'm also the PR manager for our Job in the Mouth show, which you were on a couple of times. Yeah, so I work for them also, and Colin was actually on that show last week, and I just booked him today. I booked them Bucky Dent to come on, so he's coming on November 19th, Wednesday, for Job in the Mouth show. But Colin is a true professional, and he worked. He's been actually his career. He's been working hard throughout his career, and then for him to get to do all these comedy gigs and obviously bartending is unbelievable. What he did to get to this point, and obviously he's one of the best PA announcers out there right now with Mets baseball and Army football. And one of my mentors is actually Tina Servasu, Colin. So she does a lot of stuff with Army football, and I know the DJ Yoshi.
Yoshi,
my guy too. He does a great job with Army football, and he does a lot of stuff. Rutgers.
Yeah.
Shout out to my mentor Tina, and shout out to DJ. But Colin is like I said, a true professional. He does a great job engaging all the fans, and I can talk about Colin the whole time.
I need to come on the show more often when I'm having a really down day, when I'm having that imposter syndrome attack or anxiety. I'm going to be like, you know what? I know what I need to do.
Come on, Mania. You're more than welcome anytime. You are always welcome here.
Well,
any friend of Nitin is definitely a friend of the show. There's
Well, that's
no question.
incredibly kind words. Funny story about Bucky Dent, very quickly. So David Duchovny of X-Files fame, Californication, a whole bunch of different things, the actor, he was cast to play my grandfather in the reboot of History of the World Part 1, the Mel Brooks vehicle.
Oh, wow.
They did History of the World Part 2 on Netflix. And so David Duchovny was cast to play my grandfather, and he was very nervous about being able to imitate my grandfather the right way. And he's a Yale drama school grad, so obviously he's going to be very meticulous with his detail. So it turned out we had a friend in common who said, hey, I know his grandson who does a killer imitation. If you want me to put in touch, like I can set that up. He's like, yeah, absolutely. So we did. David and I, so there I am giving like acting lessons to David Duchovny, which seems completely asinine to me. But anyway, 40 minutes of that. And then we were sitting there talking for another hour. We just hit it off and became good friends. Within a few months of, like staying in touch, he was like, hey, I'm turning my book that was called Bucky effing Dent into a book, into a movie. And Stephanie Beatrice from Brooklyn Nine-Nine was in it. And there's a bunch of like random great actors, and of course Duchovny was starring in it as well. He said, I need a sports broadcaster, can I cast you as the broadcaster? And I said, sure. He said, no pressure, you're going to be the one who opens the movie. I'm like, okay. So we did the whole thing, and it was about this father and son, like kind of fractured relationship. The father's terminally ill, they rekindle the relationship, about the Red Sox finally reversing the curse and beating the Yankees, but of course not, with a little help of Bucky effing Dent. Obviously that does not happen. Now the reason I bring all that up is because now it wasn't getting much traction on Netflix thanks to its name, so he renamed it Reverse the Curse. It's available out there on Hulu, I believe, or Netflix or whatever. But yeah, so tell Bucky Dent I'm in a movie that is disparaging his name. Don't tell him that.
Don't tell him that.
No, don't do it. Unless you want me to jump in, I'll parachute in on that episode and tell him point blank.
You should come. Hey, how about that? Hey, Colin, you know what you should do? It's all right. It's on Wednesday, November 19th at 8:45 p.m. Eastern. I don't know what you're doing. How about this? Maybe you come. I'll send you the link. When Speedy sends us the link, I'll send you the link also. You come if you have time. I'll just send you the link. Just to send it. But if you have time, just come in as a surprise guest.
I might be able to pull that off because I'll be in London. I'm seeing an awards gala there, and since we're going to be 4 or 5 hours ahead, I don't know if they've had daylight savings by then. That'll be midnight, so I could probably do it. We'll catch up after this and see if I can make it work. But yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You do have a question from a loyal viewer here, Katie. Katie asks, my question is, what do you enjoy the most about being a public address announcer for the New York Mets?
The energy that I share with the fans. I always say that starting lineups is like, that's my time to shine. That's where I earn my paycheck, because in that moment there's no score. In that moment, I'm announcing the players from the opposing team that are going to elicit boos, and I'm there booing with them if it's a player we don't like. And then when it comes to the Mets, it's like I'm announcing all of our favorite players, and even if they're not, they're still going to get a cheer. So in that moment, I say a word into the microphone. It echoes through the stadium behind me to 45,000 people if it's a sellout, and they react. And it all happens instantaneously, and there's nothing in the world like that. Maybe a close second is if we have a really nice win, and at the end, when I'm bidding everyone to do, and Hyundai reminds you to get home safely and all that. And as always, let's go Mets. And then at that point, everyone's already on their way to the exits, but I still will pop my ear out the window, and I can hear them start to cheer as they're exiting the stairs, or start to hear people chanting "Let's go Mets." And it's that moment. It's those call and response moments when we're all in this together that I absolutely love most. But at the end of the day, I'm also just a massive ham who the bigger the audience, the better. So I just love talking to a microphone in the stadium. It's I just geek out every time. Hair on the back of my neck. I've been doing it for years. Talking about it makes the hair on my neck stand up still. So.
And another thing that I think would be enjoyable for you, what about calling out all the old timers?
For the old timers game we do?
Timers Day.
Oh, they get Howie and Gary, Keith, and Ron to do that. Yeah. Anytime we have a ceremony or anything, they bring in the heavy hitters. Now, I do have the honor of doing the toss to them. So, one of the coolest things my first time when they televised a ceremony was hearing, and I recorded it so I could get home and watch it, was hearing Gary Cohen toss to me for the first time. And it was just like, and now we're going to hand it over to Mets public address announcer, Colin Cosell. And then it's my voice. And I'm watching this back and I'm like, holy shit. Like I lost it. Like it was the coolest thing in the world. Like I still geek out over that stuff. So there's a reason they use them for that. But, I have gotten to announce David Wright's final at bat. I've been a part of many number retirement ceremonies and they're all really, really cool. But Katie, to your question, it's just interacting with the crowd. I love it. And
everybody in the chat is wishing you a big happy birthday. So we definitely want to acknowledge that again.
I was on the wrong part of the chat. I was on the private chat. Now I'm catching up with the my God, I have so much catching up to do.
You're looking at the private chat.
I guess it was the default. Michael, thank you. Jason, thank you. Thank you for the kind words, Michael. Cruise Control. My God, this is awesome. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Oh, are you kidding? You're a legend in your own time, as Captain Albano would say in wrestling.
We have another question from Jason here, Joe.
Yep.
What's it like announcing Juan Soto's name?
That's a great question because I've announced him two different ways. He was the enemy until last March. So the way I announce the opposing team is I call it the it's your funeral approach. So the opposing team gets just no love. It's monotone. So for years, I was announcing the right fielder, number 22, Juan Soto. Just like that. Deadpan, boo. But now it's the right fielder, number 22, Juan Soto. And it's like, I get like amped in that moment. The crowd thrives on it. And it's awesome because I think next year, I am making the prediction right now, and it's not being a Mets homer, but he's going to be 27 years old. He is a finalist for the MVP this year in a season that would seem otherwise unforgettable. But his numbers from May until September were on par, if not better, than Shohei's or any other MVP candidate. So I think next year, Juan Soto, MLB NL MVP.
Wow. You heard it here first, folks. Go to the dials. You got it. You got it right.
Go ahead. Place your early bets on DraftKings. You did not hear it from me.
Well, one thing we realize is if the Mets do anything with pitching wise, they will definitely be in the race.
Yeah, well, the Mets definitely need pitching. But I was gonna for all the Mets fans in here. I know Jason's a Met fan, but everybody wants to know about Pete Alonso, and obviously you mentioned this on our other show, Job on the Mouth, but they want to know about Edwin Diaz, Pete Alonso, and I think, those are the two main Mets I think they want to know about.
I mean, so here's my thing. Like, I understand David Stern's approach, and I have full trust in him because he's been basically kind of biding the team's time to bring up the McLeans, the Sproats, the Bryce Montez Diokas, like. There's a wealth of talent. Christian Scott's coming back. Mm-hmm. There's a wealth of young talent coming up. And Nolan McLean proved that he is, if he's not an ace, he's a number 2 starter. With that in mind, if you get Peterson back to, his mechanics, he's a workhorse, as we know. You get Senga, figure out what's going on with him, correct that. It is correctable and make sure that he stays healthy. And then you've got McLean, you've got Sproat, you've got Tong, you've got all these players in the wings. And the blessing of the, spectacular downfall of the Mets this year was the ability to bring them up in low pressure situations, with the exception of trying to make a run for playoffs, whatever. It wasn't going to happen. I saw the writing on the wall back in May. But I think we now know that there is a pipeline of pitching coming up. So with that being said, re-signing Pete, yeah, there's really no one who's going to match his bat. You can get a Cody Bellinger in there, but who's to say that he's going to have a resurgence of when he was a rookie knocking in like 40 home runs, and the chances are very slim. You need a Diaz. Who's to say? Stearns is very weird about relievers. He's he doesn't want to dive in, but the market's very slim unless he knows there's something in there in our arsenal, like a Bryce Montez to Oka. If they can turn him into a closer who can throw 1,000 miles an hour and just get everyone to strike out on 3 pitches and golden sombrero to the side, then let it be. So I do agree. I think Pete more than Edwin, just because of what he brings, and he's a homer and he's a born and raised Met. But Diaz, because you look at that season Diaz just had, and he's still got it. And you can't teach players to have that heart and that determination and be, have that kind of work ethic.
Yeah.
And Edwin's got it, so yeah, we got to resign them both. If we don't, I guess we're going to have to figure it out. But what this team needs more than anything from last season, that we learned from 2024 that was completely devoid of the team in 2025 is spirit. It was a flat team. They had fun. They were talented. We had 2 players hitting 30 for 30, it was like there were so many good things going, but the team had no heart. They didn't know how to win a game when they were down. Like if we were down in the 8th inning, that's it. Game over all season long. Toronto Blue Jays, 45 or 40 some odd walk-off home wins at home. That's half of your home state. Like that's insane, but that's a team with heart. That's a team with grit and determination. 2024 Mets, lots of fun, lots of grit. They got back down to basics. When Francisco Lindor called that team meeting after the debacle Memorial Day weekend against the Dodgers, he said, we need accountability and we need to have fun, get back to basics. And they did. And then the Iglesias thing happened and, Grimace and all the it was a very meme-tastic summer, but it had spirit and there was something there. There was a vibe that was very much there. That was still there when we started this season. But once that settled and this team settled into its new identity, it was very apparent that this team was very vanilla. And I love the Mets, and I hope I don't get fired for saying something disparaging.
No.
It was a very vanilla team. It just was. There was no fight there.
Yeah.
So I think the pieces are there, but you also need personality. The Washington Nationals had Baby Shark, and they rode it to a championship in 2019, for God's sake. So bring back another, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously Jason brought up here Cedric Mullins had no heart, but I think Joe and I, we really do think that you guys are going to end up with Trent Grisham.
Yep.
Okay.
I think the Mets will end up with Trent Grisham for the outfield, but the Mets pitching, I really like the Mets young pitching, but you can't go wrong by adding more pitching. So
and they'll do that.
Yeah.
Stearns, now we know he's going to sign pitchers who are trying to resurrect their careers, who are trying to get that that second chance. And it worked in 2024. So why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Look at what they did with Minaya. They made one tweak to him in July, and he became like the player's de facto ace, through 2024. So, it can be done. It didn't work this year, obviously, but re-signing him Brooks Raley, who was nails, when he came back, it was smart. But, getting those players for a low contract who are trying to resurrect and are going to be, fighting for it. I understand it. So you sign as many as you can and you get rid of the ones who don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would it shock you at all if Pete Alonso ended up signing? I know it's a long shot. Ended up signing with the Yankees.
No, because look, I know for a fact that it still sticks in their craw, even though they made it to the ALCS again. It sticks in their craw that the Mets won the Soto sweepstakes, and this is a great way to stick it to them.
Mm-hmm.
To sign Diaz or Alonso or both is a real, that is a big old Bronx cheer and a big hearty middle finger to Queens.
Yeah, but I
don't put it past them.
I don't believe in that though. If it's going to help your team, then I understand. But just to stick it to another team, there are certain instances like in the past, but you can get burned really bad. that way too. But you got to go with what's best with the team. You can't. If you got to worry about everything the Mets do, or you got to worry about everything the Yankees do, the Mets have their own worries. They have to worry about the Phillies. They have to worry about the Atlanta Braves. The Yankees have to worry about the Red Sox. They have to worry about Toronto. And I just feel that it should be that way, but not worry about, who do the Yankees get? I'm so glad that they didn't get this guy. Or the Mets, why didn't they? It doesn't work that way. We're all New Yorkers. It should be a pull, but it's not.
It should be, but there's the unfortunate thing about being in a major market like this is that you're under a microscope at all times. Look at Soto. He was completely destroyed in April and May by social media, by the media. And then he goes off and becomes an MVP candidate. Well, people are going to write what they want to write for headlines, but there is an optic involved. And you don't want to, especially now with so much accessibility for fans and things leak constantly and get out there, you don't want to have a bad optic on top of a season that, ended so unceremoniously against the Blue Jays. You don't. The Yankees are a very proud program, and with good reason. It's a very corporate, like pinstripes in suits and in uniform kind of, mentality. But they do still have feelings, and I do know that their feelings were hurt by the Soto thing, and that the Mets grabbed all the headlines, and suddenly the Mets were Big Brother for like a couple months in the winter, and it drove them nuts. So there is the optic. It should be like, hey, we're all in this together, but it's not. It's a business, but it's also a rivalry for whatever reason. And so I wouldn't be surprised if the Yankees just shell out the money just to stick it to them.
Yeah.
But I agree, Jason. That would be unimaginable. It'd be an abomination. But all the more reason to stick it to them in the World Series. I'm all for a Subway Series if the Mets win.
If possible, with through Nathan and all, we're going to go hand in hand coverage with the winter meetings this year. Like
I'm working on actually.
We would love it if you would take a little time and maybe come up and we can discuss both teams and see where the Mets are at this point before we go into the new year. I think the fans would love that, and we'd love for you to come back here when you get a chance.
Yeah, winter meetings. That's actually my like downtime. That's when I finally have a couple weeks off. So. That works for me.
Yeah, actually, my team and I were working on going to the winter meetings, hopefully, this year. But let's see. But and also, I don't know what you're doing, Colin. I don't know what you're doing November 17th. But I booked a live show for Job in the Mouth at Virgil's in New York. November 17th. I think we're doing it from 5 to 10. If you're available, you should come through.
That is when I'm catching my red-eye flight to London. So unfortunately, I will be. I would much rather be with you guys than going through anything having to do with JFK.
Oh God!
In fact, I'd rather watch the 2000 World Series Game 5 over again than go through JFK.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Hey, geez. No, but we really appreciate the time and the effort. And if nothing more, we have even more love and respect for what you do.
Thank
you. We really, I can't thank you enough. I mean, everybody that Nathan brings on here is aces, and it just keeps getting better and better. And you just went over another. You went 10, but I think you hit the 100 because you were so honest. You were great, and you didn't mind that I made a mistake in the beginning. So that's big with me. Thank God.
Oh,
again, I apologize for that, and I hated to do that. And when I get off the air, I'm going to punch myself in the head.
Don't. I called a professional athlete the wrong name, and he heard it and reacted to it on screen. I think you're just fine in my book. Trust me. I have effed up so many times that it's you got an A team wrong with an A team. Who cares? That is water under the bridge, my friend. Plus, you guys have been so gracious and kind to me. This is the best I've felt all week, and I needed this too. I'm coming off of like 7 straight days of bouncing around the country, and I'm exhausted. So
the first time I connected with Colin was about 4 years ago.
I'd say yes. I don't know. Someone brought up something to me. I did an event on Saturday night, and they're like, "Hey, how was DC?" And I was like, when was I in DC? They're like, oh, we had a preliminary meeting 2 weeks ago. You were on the train. I'm like, oh my God. I was like, that was like
Jeez.
5 states ago. Yeah. DC was great.
Yeah, I think I connected with you 4 years ago. I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Might have been 4 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, a couple of things though before you go. I want to wish again you a very, very happy birthday.
Thank you.
From all of us at NY Mania, and I want to wish you, your wonderful family, and everyone a very, very happy Thanksgiving.
Thank
a
you.
Safe one. Your flight, everything safe. Be healthy. And before we wish you a Merry Christmas, I really hope that we have you on for the winter meeting. So I'm going to save my Merry Christmas because I'm hoping you come back to us.
Yeah, absolutely. I listen, I love to talk, but especially when it's like, people who are listening and engaging and super kind to me. So yeah, I would come back in a heartbeat. Absolutely.
Awesome. And looking forward to meeting you at City Field.
Yeah.
One day this upcoming season. I'm in awe when I see things like that. I was introduced to I actually covered a game when I was 14, 15 years old. So to me, I'm always a kid. I'm a kid at heart, and oh my God, this is the announcing. Oh my, this is the press room. So it's all great. So thank you so much, though. Thank you to Nitin for introducing everyone to us all the time. And you have a wonderful family name, and you live up to it. And I know your grandfather and your family are very proud of you. And you know what? We're all proud of you.
I really appreciate that
so much.
No, thank you. And very happy all the holidays to everyone. Thanksgiving being my favorite holiday. I'll be back on before Christmas. Don't you worry. And yeah, we gotta. There we go. Oh,
there we go.
Jesus, I don't even think I'd muted myself. Did you?
That was it happens. We're expecting a lot, very, very, very cold, crazy.
I had my cursor over by the comments thing. I was ready to comment. It's like, you've got to sign into YouTube. I'm like, no. And then suddenly I'm muted. I was going to say, no, thank you for the kind words. Happy holidays across the board. Thanksgiving being my favorite holiday. I'll be back on before Christmas and all that. But thank you. At the end of the day, I'm a almost 46-year-old grown-ass kid who is just living out his dream and working his tail off to keep his family alive in these crazy, crazy times. So I greatly appreciate it. And everyone stay safe, happy, and healthy out there as much as you can. And feel free to reach out. If anyone wants to reach out to me and chat with me in any way, go to colincosell.com. I've got a little feature there, and you'll be able to contact me directly, and we can chat further. But yeah, would love to meet you in person. I look forward to being back on with you guys next month.
Yeah, great seeing you.
Thank you so much, and again, safe trip.
Thank you,
and God bless you and your family.
Thank you so much. And thanks to all of your listeners for the great questions and the kind words. And everyone have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, great seeing you again too.
Likewise.
Take care, my friend. That was awesome, Nitin. Very, very. Thank you so much.
I keep telling you guys, my team and I are connected well in the business, so you got to keep staying.
Yeah, as long as they don't get traded, as long as they don't, you're never going to live this down. If anybody knows the story, guys, it just seems like everybody, a lot of guys that Nitin and his crew go and talk to, stand next to, they either get traded, they get fired. I mean, what is it about you? You're a great guy. I told you when we're together, I have the church spray for you. We've got to take that rudeness, that evil spirit away from you, my friend. But now we like having fun with you. I mean, that was a great interview. And thank you for we did get a sub during that. I got a notification. Thank you. And keep listening, everyone. And remember, with all the work and everything that we're doing for tomorrow night, it's a must that you come in and you listen to our program, Cruise Control. Thank you. Thank you for everything that you do for the show. Jason, great questions too, of course. And everybody, Katie, thank you. And the list goes, Michael, the list goes on and on. Thank you so much for being here. Remember, tomorrow morning, give love to Nitin and Evan and Sean Browning as they do the morning show. Once again, they did a great job this morning. Really, really, really cool. I mean, I was on the phone with a lot of very important things to take care of, but I went to listen to it, and it was great.
He was on the phone with Tiffany Stratton and all. So.
Oh yeah, you're trying to secure her to come on tomorrow night, but it's hard. But we do have some wonderful guests coming on tomorrow, guys.
Yep.
And my leadoff guest, as I said last night, I'm very excited about. She was one of the best anchors, women anchors here in New York City, Christine Shaughnessy. She will be with us around 7:15, and then the floodgates open up. So guys and gals and kids and everyone, please be here tomorrow night. Well, first come in the morning for the bagel show and omelets and Yankee talk and all of that. And then we will have the salute to the troops. So there's a lot going on. Nitin, you want to give some final nice thoughts?
Well, thank you guys for all the support, and thank you guys for asking questions for Colin, and more to come, guys, from our end when it comes to guests and our clients. And let's go Yankees. Let's go, everyone. Stay tuned for more. And great episode today, Joe. Keep it up.
You keep it up too, as you being the number one guy, that we can depend on, and that we truly, truly care about and love. So, and we are getting closer to all of us having a great dinner together and strategy for NY Mania. So looking forward to that. The pasta is getting ready, and the ricotta is staying fresh. The mozzarella's there. We're all ready for this, everyone. And we'll give you some live shots. It'll be fun with all of us together. I think you'd enjoy it. It'll be a lot of fun, everyone. So hang in there with us, and we will see you tomorrow morning. Of course, if there's any big Yankee.
Keep it up, guys. Thank you. Please like and subscribe to all the channels. Let's go.
Yep. And also, if the Yankees, of course, make a move or make any types of sound, you will definitely get a short from us, or maybe we'll even come on live. Yep. So thanks, everyone. Ken from The Ugly Truth, thank you. Looking forward to you coming up tomorrow so we can salute you. And any stories that you have, we're really looking forward to it. And kudos to everybody. Thank you so much for caring enough to come on the show tomorrow. So we'll see you tomorrow morning. Don't forget the like button, please. That's important, everyone. It's free. Just like the show. We'd really appreciate that. And give Nitin and Sean Browning, Evan, all the love in the world tomorrow morning. We'd really appreciate that. In the meantime, God bless you all. God bless America. Let's go Yankees. Stay healthy, everyone. We love each and every one of you. Bob Rizzo was the recipient of the Star of the Game. We'll have another one tomorrow morning. And of course, we don't even have to say it. All of the troops, all of the fantastic stories, they are all linked to being the star of the day. Take care, everyone. Good night. Thank you so much. And we'll speak to you at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Take care. Thank you, Nitin. And thank you, Colin.